Hello, friends. Pastor Ray here. It's Tuesday of Passion Week, Holy Week. What happened 2,000 years ago on Tuesday? Well, three things. Number one, Jesus explains the cursing of the fig tree. And the thing that stood out to me was, as he's explaining it, he talks about having great faith and what you can do with great faith. You can even move mountains. But then he adds this tag to it. He says, if you hold, when you stand praying, if you hold anything against anyone, oh boy, forgive them, so that your Father in heaven may forgive you. So forgiveness is really a big part of our prayers. Now, the second thing, there's this great showdown between the religious leaders and Jesus. And then the third thing is Jesus predicting the future. And he talks about parents turning against children and vice versa, and the abomination of desolation and false prophets and all of these things. But it's like the old song, be ready. I wish we'd all been ready. So he's giving a hint. Jerusalem's going to fall, the temple's going to fall, and all of these things that are going to happen in the future. But in the middle of these two things, there's this great showdown. The fig tree and Jesus predicting the future, there's this great showdown. And I wanted to just read a couple of things. I remember when Muhammad Ali was fighting George Foreman. It was a great showdown. And you said, well, who's going to win? I wonder who's going to win that. I remember listening to it on the radio. And who's going to win here? The smartest people of the day were the religious leaders. These guys were brilliant. And then you have somebody that the Jewish people believe to be the Messiah. And he is just ridden into town as the Messiah. And so there's this showdown, there's this thing brewing. Who's going to win this? Now, the religious leaders they've worked their courage up. Remember when Jesus cleared the temple, they kind of huddled together and said, we have to do something. But they're kind of figuring out, they're going to challenge him. They're going to put him in his place. And so they have these questions, these trick questions. They're trying to get him. And here they are. The first one was, by what authority are you doing these things? Who gave you this authority? Who do you think you are? And Jesus says, well, I'll ask you a question. If you answer it, then I'll answer your question. You answer me, then I'll answer you. They can't answer. He asks them a question they can't answer. And so that's put aside. And then they come back and they say they've got him now. They hold this coin and they say, is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? And he recognizes what's going on, and he says, why are you trying to trap me? And he says, bring me the coin. And they bring him a coin. He looks at it and says, whose inscription's on it? Whose portrait's on it? They say Caesar's. He said, well, give the Caesar what's Caesar. Trick question number 2, shot down. They come back again. They don't give up easy because they think they're the smartest guys in the room. They come back and they say, they give this long story where they say, this woman was married and then this happened, and then she married again, and then this happened, she married again, and they go on and on and on. And then they say at the resurrection, by this time I would have been confused, but at the resurrection, whose wife will she be? Since the 7 were married to her. So, and this was another question designed to trip Jesus up because some of the religious leaders believe different things about the resurrection and so on. And Jesus comes back and says, you're in error. You don't know the scriptures or the power of God. And he explains what happens in heaven. And so they're shut down again. They come back again. And they say, of all the commandments, Jesus, since you're so smart, of all the commandments, which is the most important? Now remember, there were the 10 commandments, and then there were other commandments, and then the religious leaders just had all these like 600 rules and regulations. You can only walk so far. You can only do this. You can only do this on the Sabbath, and so on. So they added all this stuff, and Jesus just boils it all down to 2 things. He says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. And the second is love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. And once again, he shuts them down. Greatest minds of the day. No matter how smart we are, no matter how well we rationalize, no matter how well we debate, we are not smarter than Jesus. And the wise thing to do is to not try to be. The wise thing to do is to listen to what Jesus says and to simply do it. Well, friends, the stage is set. The characters are all in place. We're getting a pretty clear picture of who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. Jesus has come for his kingdom, and he's challenging the powers that be, and they don't like it. And if you're in those days, if you lived in that time and you were paying attention, you would say, this is only going to end in one of two ways. Either Jesus is going to be victorious and he is going to raise a revolt against the Romans, or they're going to kill him. But they hadn't considered that maybe there was a third option. So stay tuned, and we'll find out together that maybe there was a third option. I think you might know what it is. Each day we'll be offering a devotion. Wednesday was kind of a quiet day. Thursday was an extremely busy day. Friday we'll have communion together, Good Friday. Saturday, the guards were posted and everybody's waiting. And of course, then Sunday we'll celebrate together as well. So stay tuned, and thank you for being with us today. Lord, bless us. Keep everyone safe in these virus times, and bless each family and home, I pray. In Jesus' name, amen.